The Cato Institute has released a report saying that the poor have it too damn good in America. It is simply too easy to live off the government dole and live it up as a poor American. And so, obviously this is ridiculous if you're an American and not working for the Cato Institute. And so we're going to reply to that. But first, I want to talk about the study that they conducted, Michael Tanner and Charles Hughes, and then we'll respond to it. So what they did was, they calculated the maximum benefits of every federal anti-poverty program in which a single parent with 2 kids could participate, including things like tax credits for the working poor, and supplemental nutrition, and health benefits for pregnant women and young children, calling it all welfare. Now, many of these programs are not welfare, but they know that people don't like welfare. Even if they like the program, when you call it welfare, they don't like it, and so they imply that it's all welfare. And they also implied, by the way, that this individual could get all of these benefits simultaneously, when we know that even people who are eligible for various unemployment benefits, SNAP, EBT, all of these programs, these welfare programs, or programs, maybe I'm playing into their terminology, often don't collect them. But they're saying that they would. And they say, well, look at this. You're making more than minimum wage if you were to get all of these benefits simultaneously, which, by the way, you can't have all of them forever. Many of them have time limits on how long you can collect them. And they say, well, look, you're getting more than minimum wage, so you have it easy. Why would you work? That's a good point. But I draw a different conclusion from it than they would. They say, if you can make more than minimum wage by collecting all of these welfare benefits, then why would you want to work? I say, obviously, welfare is not enough. Minimum wage is not enough. Neither of them is good. It doesn't matter which one is $1 more per hour than the other. It's simply not enough. And here's some data to back that up. Only 2 of the 33 countries in the OECD devote a smaller share of their economic output to programs that help poor families make ends meet than the US, Mexico, and South Korea. So look, they can say, look at all this information, like we're giving them so much money. Well, no, 31 out of 33 of the OECD countries do more for the poorest people in their country. And by the way, it's easy to say you can make a couple of dollars per hour more, something like possibly $15 per hour if you were collecting all of them for the short period of time that you can get them. But that's not enough to live in most states in the country. In fact, the cheapest state to live in per country, they're going by MIT's living wage calculator, is $20.14 per hour to cover a family's basic necessities. Now, this isn't for an individual. This is for someone with those 2 kids that we're talking about. That's South Dakota. Did you notice that that does not actually reach even South Dakota's living wage requirement, this $15 per hour that requires that you tweak every number in a way that makes their argument the most possible? You still can't live in South Dakota. And by the way, all of the other states are more expensive to live in, which implies 2 things. One, that even under the Cato Institute's stupid idea of how much someone with 2 kids can collect, which they would not in reality be able to collect, you can't live. And also, by the way, along the way, they've made the argument that the minimum wage is not high enough, because even if you are working at a minimum wage job, you're working 40 or more hours per week, you cannot sustain a family even in the poorest and easiest to live in states in the country. Now, there are, of course, other problems, as I've implied. You can look at the study if you want. It's pretty extensive. And to be fair, to the Cato Institute's credit, they do give some of these caveats later on in their study. But the problem is that the conservative outlets who are going to play up and report on this study, as many already have, are not going to include those caveats. What they're going to say is, look, someone on welfare with 2 kids can make more than someone who's making minimum wage, and so clearly it's an injustice. They won't include any of the caveats that we've talked about. They won't include the fact that that most people do not get all of the benefits that they deserve, that they cannot stay on it for as long as they would need to. They simply say, look, the poor have it too easy, and that ultimately is the biggest problem with this study. It's not that they get the methodology wrong, it's that their motivation for conducting it is to demonize the poor, to tell people, look, the poor are lazy, they have no incentive to work, and they're living better than you do, and you're working. So shouldn't you hate them? That's the entire purpose, and that's what's so horrible about this. Even if you were to collect all of these things, you would not be able to live with 2 children. And as we pointed out, we're doing far less for the poorest people in our country than many other comparable Western countries around the world.